Hello, basketball fans, and welcome back to another episode of Baseline to Baseline. As always, I'm joined by Owen, and today we got lots on the list for you guys today. Um, we're getting closer to the play-in games here, so we're going to be talking about that next week as we get closer. Things should be more set by then, but this week we got lots more to chat with you guys about. But first of all, Owen, how's your week going so far?
It's going pretty good. Tomorrow is my last day of school before I return to online. So, yeah.
Nice. Oh yeah, because Alberta is closing down like all the schools and stuff right now, eh?
Yeah.
It's too bad you probably don't have like what you got like a month left of school.
Yeah, a month and a half.
Yeah. So that's too bad you got to close it out and from home too. And yeah, you're gonna be like it's your last year too and everything. You gotta finish it off from home. That's too bad.
Yeah. It's kind of disappointing, but what can you do?
Yeah, fair enough. Um, all right, well let's get right into it. We got some cool topics. So first of all, um, we've talked about Russell Westbrook a lot the last, not a lot, but a little bit the last couple of weeks. Um, I think it was last week we were talking about him because he was getting criticized for, he's stat padding, that sort of thing. But I had an interesting conversation with some friends this week after Scott Brooks came out and said that Russell Westbrook is, um, the second best point guard of all time in the NBA, right behind Magic Johnson. It had me and my friends talking a little bit about, is Russell Westbrook actually a top 10 point guard? And I was looking at some lists online, and a lot of people don't have him in the top 10. Like they have him, I saw one that had him at the 20 mark. But I just kind of want to get your thoughts on it before I give you mine. But do you think Westbrook is a top 10 point guard? Do you think he's kind of on the fringe, or do you think that's kind of a way off assumption?
I think he's definitely an 8, 9, 10 kind of spot for sure.
Yeah, like you look at everything he's done, and he's been to the finals on a pretty good team, on a very good team. He carried like those seasons where after KD left, he really carried Oklahoma City, and he didn't do a terrible job. Like I think he took them to the playoffs. They lost in the first round, which obviously isn't great, but he had some monster seasons in Oklahoma City when he was just by himself, and even when it was him and KD. Yeah, they didn't get it done in the playoffs, but they were one game away from knocking out the Warriors to go to the West Finals. And or sorry, was that to go to yeah, that was to go to the finals, not the West Finals.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's had some monster seasons in Houston, and he's been playing pretty good in Washington this year. He's going to be, stat came out that he could average 0 points per game, zero rebounds, and zero assists for the rest of the year, and he was still average a triple double this year. So you look at his overall career, like in terms of championships, it's pretty disappointing. Um, but stats wise, like he's a beast, and yeah, I think he's got to be like kind of on the fringe top 10 for me. Because you're gonna have that's a tough list to make. 'Cause there's been so many great point guards like Chris Paul and Magic Johnson and Steve Nash and John Stockton and Oscar Robertson, Walt Frazier. Like you can go on and on, but overall career, I think he's in there, but you can definitely make a case for him not being in there. But I don't know. You kind of agree with what I'm saying, or do you have anything, I guess, else to add on there, like in terms of his career?
I mean, I might be a little biased because obviously, like, I'm a Thunder fan. I got the Westbrook jersey right behind
Yeah,
me.
right.
Uh, but I definitely, yeah, I think he's a fringe, like, top 10, kind of top 10 point guard of all time. I think what he's done stats wise is enough to warrant that. And people always use the excuse of, oh, he's stat padding, or oh, like, he's putting up empty numbers. But I definitely think that if it was so easy to put up these numbers, then why aren't more people in the league doing it? Nobody is
Hmm.
in the league is putting up Westbrook like numbers. So even if it is, stat padding or whatever, he's still putting up unprecedented numbers.
Yeah, I know that, especially when he's in Oklahoma City, there was like kind of clips of like Steven Adams backing away from a rebound to let Russ get it. There was that sort of things coming out, but I don't think that happens too often. Like I'm sure it does happen, but not often enough. And um, yeah, he puts up crazy numbers. And to your point about like why doesn't anybody else do it? Um, I don't. That's a like a interesting like kind of question to think about because like I think if like LeBron when he's like healthy or if Giannis is really healthy, like I don't see why they couldn't do that. But I think maybe that they defer a little bit more to their teammates to try and win. Like I'm not saying Russell doesn't try to win, but at some points it seems like um, that getting those couple extra rebounds or couple extra assists mean more to him. But I could be wrong there. Like I think there's lots of guys in the league who are capable of it, um, and just don't really do it because that's not their focus. But I think I think over time Westbrook has kind of made that his focus because he knows how big of an achievement it is, and that's not to say that that's not the right thing to do or wrong thing to do, but I think he's a little bit more focused on it than maybe other players are.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see that too. It's just like, especially like on the stretch now where the Wizards have been playing like really good and they've been winning games. I
Yeah, won
definitely
eight in
think,
a row there for a bit too.
yeah, exactly. And Westbrook was putting up those triple doubles. I think if they lead to wins, then who cares if he's, stealing a rebound here and there or passing up on an open shot or whatever. They're winning games.
Yeah, that's very true. And they're still in the hunt here for like, playing games. Like um, the Bulls and the Raptors are right behind them. Everybody from 12 and basically 13. So the Magic, Cavs, and Pistons are eliminated. So um, people in the playing games right now are the Celtics, Hornets, Pacers, Wizards, and the Raptors are sitting on the outside, and the Bulls on the outside at 11 and 12, and Wizards are in 10th. So the Raptors are um, 3 games behind the Wizards. So as of right now, Washington is in a playoff spot. So if they can keep their, obviously they've won one in a row now, so they've got back after losing a couple. But if they can keep this 3 game lead ahead of the Raptors, then they're going to be in the playoffs, and Westbrook and Beal can try and win some playoff games. I don't know if they'll win a. They have to win this played game, so they'd be playing against the Pacers, I believe, is how it works. So that's a winnable game. But then they're going to be playing the 76ers. So that's going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah.
All right. Well, uh, because it's kind of unanimous here, Westbrook is top 10 point guard, but let us know what you guys think. I think it's definitely up for discussion for him not to be in there just because of how great how many great point guards the NBA has produced over the years. It's been pretty incredible, but there's not many like Russell Westbrook. So um, LeBron, speaking of the playing games, LeBron was kind of in hot water this week after. So the Lakers have been dropping ever since him and Kate, or I almost said him and KD, him and AD have been out. So AD's back. LeBron came back, but he's going to be missing a couple more games now because he re-injured his ankle. Not re-injured, but I guess it was a little bit more sore than they want it to be against the Raptors. So they've been kind of sliding a little bit ever since both of them went out. So ever since the Lakers slipped into the play-in games. So right now they'd be playing in a play-in game, which we've said in previous podcasts that that's worst case scenario for the Lakers because you don't want LeBron playing extra playoff games. But LeBron has come out and said, um, whoever's idea that was in the NBA needs to be fired. And he was a little bit under fire because months ago. I think it was after the bubble um, happened. LeBron said that he basically came up with the idea on a Zoom call. It looked like where he was saying, "Hey, if I can't remember the teams he listed, but if these guys are in the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 range, why not let them play it out for a tournament, for a playoff spot? Why not let them play it out?" And now all of a sudden he's against it because the Lakers are in it. Um, oh, what do you think of LeBron's comments here? You think it's kind of hypocritical because he's in a spot now, all of a sudden, now that he's in there, he wants it gone, or like, I know we're both pro playing games here, so I don't know. What do you think of LeBron's comments?
Yeah, I think it's extremely hypocritical because I mean, obviously, when you're, the championship or the champions or the one seed, whenever he said this comment,
Hmm.
obviously you're going to be down for kind of whatever happens in the lower seeds because that doesn't really concern you too much. But now, of course, that he'll be in one or could be in one, he's going to start panicking and he's going to, go back on what he said before. So yeah, I think it's extremely hypocritical, and you know, I think that he thinks it's a good idea, but I think he's just frustrated with kind of where the Lakers are right now.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, I think he thinks it's a good idea, but yeah, like they're in the sixth spot right now. Um, the Trailblazers are right behind them, about one game back from the Lakers, so they could slip down to seven in the next few games. But the Warriors are three games back, so the Lakers would really have to drop to slip down to eight, and they'd really have to struggle to slip down to 10 because right now the Spurs are sitting there 6 games back from the Lakers. So um, the Lakers would really have to go through a slump to slip down any farther. But yeah, as of right now, they're in a playoff or a play-in game, and I think it make it kind of cool, especially if like the Lakers end up going to the finals. You go from the Lakers playing in a play-in game all the way to the NBA finals. That'd be a heck of a story, but it also makes the potential for a massive upset, um, because right now the Lakers will be playing the Blazers in the play-in game. So they played each other in the playoffs in the bubble, and the Lakers killed them. Other than the first game, so if it's anything like that, then the Lakers might just run them over. But if the Damian Lillard's been playing way better this season, so could make for a potential upset. Um, I'm gonna agree with you. Yeah, I think LeBron probably forgot that he said that, and he came out and now he's changing his ways just because they're there. But I don't know. It makes for good news, I guess, and people got people talking like it was trending on Twitter and everything. So um, I'd be down for seeing LeBron playing a play game, even though it's not ideal for them. I think it make for good television.
Yeah, for sure. And like putting LeBron kind of in that do or die situation, I feel like that's where we're going to see him play his best basketball.
And unless they get that ankle under control right now, it seems like he's probably going to be going into playoffs not 100%. Hopefully they can get him to like 90 or 80, um, which I think is why they're giving him all this rest. Like, even I was reading, and they said that he didn't retweak that ankle, but they took him out just to be absolutely sure that he's healthy. They could be lying. He could have re-injured it. But if that's not the case, then they're just being ultra careful because they know they're gonna need him in the playoffs. So if they can get him back to 100, then that's great. But if not, he's probably gonna be playing the entire playoffs, not himself, which will make it even harder for a guy at his age right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, he's been injured before, and we're kind of seeing the twilight of his career. So like it's scary him coming back from that. Like I believe it was a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, it was his ankle. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of scary him coming back from that to now. missing more games from that injury because it might be the build up to more and more injuries.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. 'Cause up until this point, he's been pretty durable for his entire career. But hopefully he can get back to 100% because when LeBron's at his best in the playoffs, that's always great to watch, even if you're not a LeBron or Lakers fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's only great to watch when he's not playing your team.
Yeah, yeah. As a Raptors fan, that a lot of pain in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so speaking of top players in the league, John Morant has crowned himself top five point guard in the NBA. He said no question. He was doing an interview. Um, Questionable, to say the least, but when you're in the NBA, you got to believe these things to be great in this league. And I think if you asked anybody in the NBA if they're top five in their position, unless you're like Channing Frye or something, you're gonna say yeah. But so John Morant came out and said he's a top five point guard in the NBA. I'm going to disagree, but I don't think he's with the talent in the NBA right now. There's a lot of great point guards, but I don't think he's too many years away from that becoming a possibility if he continues on the path he's going. Like he's young, but he's explosive, and I don't think it's like 1 or 2 years away, but I think it's definitely like once he gets into his prime, like 5 years down the road, it's a possibility if he keeps going where he's going. But right now, no, I don't think he is.
Yeah, and I agree. And I mean, we're talking about players that I just have jerseys of, I guess, because I have a
Yeah,
Morant jersey behind me as well. So I'm a big Morant fan, obviously. Like I was one of the few people that I would have picked him over Zion in the
really.
draft,
Oh yeah,
just
fair enough. Yeah,
because of like I was scared of Zion's like injury history, and I was
yeah, isn't he?
nervous about his knees. Uh, but yeah, I think this claim is a little outlandish. I don't think he's at that level yet. I think he can be at that level for sure. It's funny that he's saying this because his last three, I just saw a stat. His last 3 games, he's not played good at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like he averaged like I don't know if averages, but he had like 8 points in two of those games and like shot like 30% from the field. Don't quote me on that,
Yeah,
but it's something like that.
yeah, and I mean the Grizzlies are in playoff in the play-in tournament right now too. So he'll have to be at his best for them to play well. But I remember speaking about him on the pod. I can't remember if you were around then yet, but I remember talking about him, and I said that his comparison has to be Russell Westbrook because they both play like aggressive, attack the rim type basketball for guards, and Jaw is just as explosive as Russell is, I think, and maybe a little bit less, but he's still very explosive, and he moves around like fast, like he's quick like Westbrook. He has better shooting. He's a better shooter, I think, but in terms of aggression and like passion that he plays with, it's definitely Westbrook. Um, yeah, I thought I'd just bring that up because we were talking about Westbrook earlier, but if he develops his game to be more round than Westbrook's game. Um, I guess I shouldn't say Westbrook's game. He's averaging a triple double, so he's rounded it out. But like, you wouldn't call Westbrook a good shooter, is what I'm trying to say. And I think if Morant develops his shooting game, then I think he could definitely be a top point guard in this league if he continues to work on that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I like watching him play. Like he's got sound fundamentals. Like his shot form looks good and everything.
Hmm.
It's just like not falling for him right now. So I think like give him a year or two, that shot will start falling.
Yeah, playing for the Grizzlies isn't great either. It's on a massive market, and you don't really hear about too many great careers coming out of Memphis, but hopefully he can change that around. Um, since we talked about two, you must talk about the third. Looks like you got Bugs Bunny up there.
Yeah, Space Jam jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's um I saw that there might be another Space Jam teaser coming out soon, actually. So I guess the movie's coming up in July.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't on the list, but just thought I'd throw that in there. So talk a little bit about some coaches on the hot seat right now. So Shams tweeted out a story that he was working on where he talks a little bit about some of the coaches in the NBA that are in potential hot seats. Now, I saw a report come out recently saying that the Milwaukee Bucks are most likely going to move on from Mike Budenholzer if they don't make it deep in the playoffs. So Mike has to he has to create a deep playoff run, otherwise he's going to lose his job. Um, Now Shams wrote about a couple other coaches, Blazers Terry Stotts, the Wizards Scott Brooks, Kings Luke Walton, and the Pacers Nate Borgren, I think is how you say the last name. I don't know for sure, but out of those coaches, is there anybody you think that will be safe, or you think that will be gone by the end of the year? Um, for me, I think that the Kings will probably move on from Luke Walton. If the Wizards can make the play-in game, and maybe even win a play-in game, I think Scott Brooks's job is safe. I don't understand why the Pacers would want to move on from Nate. But I'll pass it off to you. Is there anything you think is anybody you think is safe, or anybody you think is going to be gone by the season's end?
I mean, I kind of pretty much agree with you. Like I would fire Luke Walton for sure.
Hmm.
I think Scott Brooks should be safe considering what he's done with the second half of the season. Like he's really brought this team back. And I think it's too early to give up on Nate Bjorken. I think like he's only been there for one season. He was just an assistant coach at
Yeah,
first. He's playing with kind of a rough roster right now. Like Pacers don't really know where they are. Kind of they got to figure that out. So I think it's too early to give up on him. And yeah, Mike Budenholzer I think is kind of the main one that everybody's gonna have their eyes on because he's had this talented roster before, and he's had it for years and never really been able to make an impact in playoffs. So I think that if anyone's going to lose their job, it's probably going to be him if they can't make an impact.
yeah. I mean, like he's had plenty of opportunities. Like when he first got there, I think his first season was in 2019, and they lost the Raptors that year, but they were supposed to win that series, and they were very close to winning it at times. But I think that really hurt him losing to that Raptors team, because they have just never ever since then. I think that was their best chance. Like they had an amazing team that year. A lot of shooters. I think this year they're going to be good too. But with the teams in the East now, I think it's going to be even harder for them to make it. But I definitely think it's possible. When you got Giannis, it's definitely possible. But 2 years ago, I think was their best chance to make it to the finals, and unfortunately, that's didn't make it that year. So I think Mike's probably going to be gone, even if they make it to like the second round or third round. Like I think if they make it to the East Final and like play against Brooklyn or something, but I think I think they have to make the finals, because I don't understand, like if let's say they make it to the third round and they don't make it, I think either way you have to move on from him, because whatever you're doing isn't working, whatever he's doing isn't working. You need to find somebody who can work with this team better. I think it's finals or bust for Mike. I think he has to go to the finals, not necessarily win it, but I think he has to, because I don't know how you can come away from this season um, not making the finals and being like, yeah, he's still our guy, even though we've had multiple chances on multiple years to make it to the finals, and he still hasn't got the job done despite having arguably the best player in the NBA on your team. So it's not looking good for him right now.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I agree. Like that roster has gotten, I mean, I would say worse and worse since 2019. I mean, you had Eric
Mhm.
Bledsoe, Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Middleton, and Giannis all on the same team, and Brooke Lopez all on the same team. And
And he was cashing threes that playoffs too. He was
yeah,
shooting very good. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, you just couldn't make a playoff run with that roster. And ever since then, I feel like that roster's gotten worse and worse. I
He
mean,
had like
it's still a good team, but not as good.
yeah, last year I thought that they were going to take a step back, and they still did decent. But losing Brogdon, I think, really hurt them. I don't know why they ever moved on from him.
Yeah, they chose Bledsoe over Brogdon, right? In free agency, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
And I think that was after he won. I think he won Rookie of the Year that year too.
Mm,
I believe, or he won an award. I think it was Rookie of the Year, and he yeah, they moved on for the season after that. So that was
jeez.
interesting. Um, and I think the Blazers, like if they can with Terry Stotts, that's another guy who's had a lot of chances to, with a pretty decent roster like that. Blazers roster has gotten better the last couple of years. I think they probably should have beat the Warriors. I think it was a couple of years ago. They were playing them in the playoffs, and they had a chance to beat the Warriors and couldn't do it. It's another team that has really had a lot of chances, and they've made some decent runs in the playoffs. And the West is tough, so I think he has a little bit longer of a leash than Budenholzer does, but it's tough to win in the West. But they've had lots of good opportunities to make it far. Um, they had chances, like they've had great teams that probably could make it to the finals. Especially when you got Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum as your guards. So I think he could probably be gone as well. Although I don't really know what the coaching market is going to look like this offseason. So you might be better off holding on to him, but I don't know. I think he could be another one that's probably on his way out.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I have no idea what coaches are going to be in the market. So I feel like
Mhm.
you got to think about that too. Like Budenholzer's a good coach. Terry Stotts is a good coach. They're just maybe not what they need. So it could be a little risky giving up on them.
Mhm. There's probably going to be lots of assistant coaches looking to make that next step up. And I think I think the Raptors lost or is going to lose another assistant coach again. I can't remember exactly who, but there's going to be lots of assistant coaches that could be on the move. So maybe they'll pick up one of those guys. But yeah, it'll be interesting off season. So you guys make sure you tune in again next week, because next week we're talking a little more about those playing games. As we're getting closer to playoffs, I'm getting excited, and we're gonna be talking more playoffs because um, I think we are like 3 weeks or 2 weeks out from the play-in tournament now,
Jeez.
so we're getting close there. So we're gonna yeah talk about that next week, and maybe I don't think the playing games will be completely set yet, but I think we're gonna have a good idea because teams are getting eliminated and more teams are clinching as we move along here. So we should have a good idea of what the play tournament's going to look like next week. So make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the Amateur Agency. Owen, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Owen Lutz, and you can find me on TikTok at Ball of Fame.
How's that been going? Get any more good videos coming out this week?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've been trying to make one every day. I haven't made one yet today. I'm not really sure what to talk about, but
Mm-hmm.
I've expanded into more kind of like all sports, so that's been fun.
Oh, nice. What else have you were saying football, right? Have you gotten anything else?
I've done football, I've done boxing, and I've done baseball.
Oh, you're a boxing fan. You think what do you think of all of these like random athletes just thinking that they can box now all of a sudden? Like I saw Ocho Cinco is going to be boxing at the Mayweather and yeah, Floyd Mayweather is going to be fighting Logan Paul, which is
Yeah.
strange. So you got YouTubers and you got athletes thinking they can box all of a sudden. What do you think of that?
I mean, it's bringing views back to the sport because boxing's obviously not what it once was.
Hmm.
But I mean, I definitely think that there are like some real boxers out there that should be kind of more respected and more well known as like normal athletes are.
Yeah, I was surprised that Mayweather took that fight. Like it took Manny Pacquiao years to get Mayweather to fight him, and now Mayweather's gonna take Logan Paul after not really there wasn't really much of a fight to for him to get that, and he just agreed to it. I mean, obviously money is involved. You know, you're gonna make a lot of money fighting Logan because he's such a high profile guy in the YouTube community, I guess, and really just the entertainment community. So that's probably why, but just seems strange that probably because he knows he's gonna win, so he can keep
Yeah,
his undefeated record. He's like, oh yeah, this is easy win. Even I think he'll I think it would be like under the professional like this would go on Mayweather's professional record. I think it would.
I
I don't
think so too.
I don't really know like is Logan Paul known as a professional boxer now? I don't know, but um anyways, you're getting off topic here. Um but yeah, it's gonna be a cool fight. I think I might even buy that one. We'll
Yeah.
see. Anyways, you can follow me on Instagram at ENG318 and on Twitter at Ian Gustafson 12. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.